Good morning, class 11s. This is the last video of the chapter Western Sociologist. So in this video, we will talk about the third classical thinker of sociology, that is Max Weber. So there is a small biography given. You can just go through it and remember the important dates, okay, and important points. So let's begin. Max Weber points out how the major objective of social science is to develop an interpretive understanding of social action. So Max Weber, he says that the major goal, the main aim of all these social science subjects is to develop an interpretive understanding of social action. They have to try to understand the social action of other individuals. So interpreting the social action, the action of the individuals, is the major goal of social science. So social science, according to Weber, are all those actions that are meaningful, that is, actions to which the actors attach a meaning. So according to this Max Weber, he says that he talks about social action, right? He talks about the social scientist, the sociologist, or the political scientist interpreting the social action. So what is social action according to Weber? He says that all the actions to which individuals they attach a meaning. All the meaningful actions are social actions. So, in order to understand social action, the sociologist has to interpret the meaning attached to it by the actor. So, in order to understand the action of another person, you have to try to understand the meaning, the reason that the actor is attaching or has attached to that particular act. So we have to understand why that person is doing. We have to try to interpret, we have to try to understand, we have to try to find out why that person is doing certain act and what is the meaning that he is attaching to it, what is the reason of the act. Sociology is a form of empathetic understanding, that is feeling not only with sympathy but also with empathy. So you have to understand, like as a sociologist, you have to understand the act of the individual, act of the actor, by standing in his or her own shoes. You have to understand the meaning, you have to understand the reason why that person is doing it. You cannot he says that one should not, or a sociologist should not judge the action of a person on the basis of their own values or norms, but you have to, as a sociologist, one has to understand as to why that person is doing it. He or she has to interpret the meaning that that person is attaching to it. You have to stand in the shoes of that person and understand. So the sociologists had to understand and record the subjective meaning and motivation of the actors without allowing their own beliefs to influence the process. So basically there is subjective understanding or subjective meaning, and objective understanding or objective meaning. So subjective means to to let your own thinking, to let your own biasness take control of certain thing. If I don't like a certain thing, I will not do research on that. So that is me being subjective. But even if I don't like a certain thing, but I will do research on it, because what I feel about that thing doesn't matter, but what matters is what that thing actually is. So that is me being objective. So he says that sociologist has to record, has to understand, has to interpret the subjective subjective meaning which the actor attaches to his action, but then he should not allow his own subjective belief or subjective thinking to influence that process. So he cannot let his own values or his own likes and dislikes affect the process of collecting data regarding the subjective meaning attached by the actor to the action. So sociologists should not judge the subjective feeling of others. So if somebody is feeling, if a particular person does not like another person, I cannot say like, okay, you don't like that person, this and that. I cannot judge that person, because that person has their own subjective, own personal feelings. Okay, so I should not judge a person depending on their own subjective feeling. Instead, I need to interpret as to why they are feeling so. So Weber, he calls this type of rationality value neutrality. So he says that sociology should be value neutral. Neither you should support or neither refute. Okay, you have to try to understand what it is. Weber pointed out that this was difficult to do, as sociologists are also humans belonging to the society. So being human, we cannot always think objectively or practical, always have a practical thinking. Sometimes we also tend to be subjective, tend to be judgmental, because we are all humans, right? So there is this concept given by Weber called ideal type. An ideal type is a model of social phenomena that highlights its characteristics. So it is a particular model, okay? It is a construct, it is a tool which helps to understand social phenomena. It does not really reproduce reality. However, it helps in bringing out important connections of the social phenomena. So ideal type, it does not help us understand the entire reality. However, it helps us to understand the important connections. It gives us a good idea about certain things. So Weber, he used ideal type to identify three types of authority. Okay, so there is this concept that he has given types of authority. So this is that it is. So the first one is rational legal authority. Here the person in power gets their power. The source of power is based on law and order. Second is traditional authority. Here the authority is derived from custom and traditions. Okay, from law, standing, customs and traditions, they get this power. And the last one is charismatic authority, which is derived from the gift of grace or having supernatural power. So people who have charisma, who have this extraordinary power, they get this charismatic authority. So the last concept, which is in your book, although Max Weber has given a lot of concept, but like in your book, and the basic ones are these. This one is bureaucracy. So when you think about bureaucracy, you can think about modern day offices, industries. Okay, so bureaucracy separated the public sphere from the domestic sphere. So earlier in the pre-modern times or pre-capitalist times, there was no such offices or working place that exists now, because earlier people used to work from home. Their domestic sphere and their workspace was at home itself. But now, as bureaucratic organizations has come about, public sphere and the domestic sphere has separated. So we're going to read about the characteristics of bureaucratic authority. I'm just going to give you a slight insight. Okay, you go and read your text. So yeah, first one is functioning of officials. So here in a bureaucracy, all the functions, okay, of the officials are governed by rules, laws, regulations. So there are rules, laws which needs to be followed. Okay, and then in a bureaucracy, the work is divided. Okay, the responsibility is divided among the officials, and then the people in the higher authority, they command. Okay, and they make decisions and they command, and the subordinate ones who are in the lower level of hierarchy, they need to follow the command given by the ones in higher authority, and everything is followed. There are rules and regulations which needs to be followed. So that is functioning officials. Everyone functions on the basis of rules and regulations. And then there is hierarchical ordering of positions. Here, there is a hierarchy of officials. There is like the power is distributed from top to down. The ones at the top has the highest power, and the ones at the bottom are subordinate. Okay, they have to follow the order coming from the top. So reliance on written documents. In a bureaucracy, all the rules, regulations, law, everything is written, okay? And it is saved. It is not something like the laws are not verbal, okay? Everything is written, documented. Like you have seen how we have to, all the rules and regulations are already given to us in the school, right? So yeah, there it functions on a written document. So similarly, bureaucracy also functions in a written document. So one I have missed out, that is office management. Okay, so here in bureaucracy, people are recruited on the basis of their qualification, on the basis of their skills. Okay, so we require trained people, skilled people to work in the office and to manage the office. And the last one is conducted office. So conduct in office, okay, there, as we have already mentioned, that there are a lot of rules and regulations. So the people of the conduct of the people are also guided and are also, patterned by the rules, laws, regulations that are written. Okay, so they have the people are expected to give their best, to give their full time and attention, okay, and to keep their private life separate from the office life. So yeah, now you can go through the characteristics and read the text. And you're going to have exams, I think, in December. So don't worry for sociology, because I'm going to give you only basic concepts, but it's very important that you read your book very thoroughly, okay? And I will post questions for you. This chapter will not be included. I will post questions from you so you can make notes, or you can study those questions for your exam. And don't just study the ones I give, okay? Thank you.